Little shout out. We are streaming live on YouTube and on Discord for the people that didn't want to come in. So we'll say hi to all of them. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Awesome. Hello, beautiful humans and the family of Burnersphere. Welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. Whether you're joining us here or from Deep Playa or from a build going on right now or discovering this community for the first time, you are in the right place. We are excited to welcome James Gwertzman and Annie Locke, the designer and chief architect of the Temple of the Moon. When we go into the Temple of the Moon world, we're going to learn a little bit more about them. But I want to make sure that everyone that is here is all set up and ready to go. So everyone make sure that you're friends with everyone. So if you don't see a blue nameplate over their head, then go up, ask them if you can be friends, and friend each other by clicking on your nameplates. The more people that you're friends with, the easier it is to find people when you come back onto the platform, or if you get disconnected, to find us again, because you can go into your friend browser, either from your bracelet or the upper right, people hugging in the upper right corner of your screen, and find your friends. They all have green dots if you're on the platform, and then hit go to.
Get muted, by the way, Leslie.
And then another thing is audio, which that was a perfect segue.
Thanks.
With your audio, if you're having a hard time hearing everybody, you can open up your settings menu, the pink bead on your bracelet or the gear in the upper right. And you can adjust your audio by bringing ambient down and bringing the chat volume up, and that'll make it easier for you to hear. In the meantime, when we portal over, when we start the panel, I'm going to ask everybody to mute themselves so that we don't get any background noise, dogs barking, planes going overhead, or anything like that.
Farting.
So let's keep the digital dust swirling. One quick note, we are streaming live on YouTube and on our Discord server. Thank you, Doug, for making that possible for everyone to participate. So if you see Doug running around the space, it's just because he is capturing different angles and making sure everyone that is on YouTube and Discord gets to see the full scene. Hello to everyone that's on YouTube, to everyone that's on Discord. We welcome you. Next time, come into Burnersphere. We would love to have you be a part of the community. Available on Quest, available on Mac and PC. And we just recently got on the Mac store. So go to the Mac store on your desktop, look up Burnersphere, and it's super easy to load now.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations.
I know. Thank you. As of like 3 days ago, we are on the Mac. Yes. That was a lot of work on Doug's end to make that possible. So thank you, Doug, for getting that onto the Apple Store. So now what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Temple of the Moon 2026 Temple of the Moon world. And then I'm going to introduce Stretch Goal, James Gwertzman, Annie Locke, and we're going to start our panel there. So head on over to the Burnersphere World Selector, click on Temple Selector, and then choose.
I know. I did. I took it up to the library. Yeah, it was just there. Yeah, cool.
Oh, it doesn't have the pedals on it? Looks pretty cool still. So yeah.
Looks pretty good to me.
It'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Okay,
has
have
well,
them, so
well, we
they-
should
they
we
should
should
be
actually
out
update you because
sometime.
the way we're doing those has changed anyway. So we'll want to make sure you get it there right. We're gonna.
Annie just sent it to us.
Oh, great! The fabric sales, great,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fabric sales.
It expands
We
and
just
then it
haven't
contracts.
added them in yet. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. Where's Doug? Okay. I'm going to stand this way with the temple behind me. Yeah? Okay. And now we
I'll come join
step
you.
from the memory of, yes, please, please, please. And now we step in the memory of what has been into the vision of what is coming. The 2026 Burning Man Temple has a name and it's beautiful, the Temple of the Moon. It is inspired by the Queen of the Night, a rare desert flower that blooms for just one night before fading with the dawn. That single night of extraordinary beauty, paired with the rhythms of the lunar cycle, has shaped a temple built entirely around impermanence, presence, and the tender universal experience of letting go. Like the flower itself, like the temple itself, like so much of what we carry to the playa, it rises, it holds us, and it releases us. So, this is the next chapter in the 25 years of the sacred space of the playa. And today we get to see it for the very first time together with James Gwertzman, our first guest, who came to the temple this year through one of the most human doorways love, loss, and the quiet act of bearing witness. James Gwertzman walked beside a dear friend through his partner's illness and passing, and in doing so came to understand the profound power of simply holding space for grief. That experience called him to build the temple. Um, called him to build the temple. He brought us Prairie of Possibilities and Moonlight Library in recent years, and carries a 25-year career at the intersection of art and digital entertainment. Though he will tell us you though he will tell you he is now moving towards something different, the Temple of the Moon makes a meaningful transition in his work towards immersive, real-world experiences rooted in physical presence, reflection, and human connection. Please welcome James Gwertzman.
Hello, so glad to be here, guys. Welcome to our temple. It's crazy to see it built here in VR. You know, we're standing here today. I'm broadcasting to you right now from the shop where we're actually building the temple in real time. So, you know, we just are shipping out a truckload today of some of the petals you can see here, and we're building more petals. And I'm happy to be sharing and hopefully giving you a tour today of the temple.
Awesome. Thank you. And next, our second guest is the architect who takes the vision of the Temple of the Moon and makes it physically possible to stand in the desert. Annie Locke brings over a decade of experience in large scale art builds with a practice centered on parametric design and digital fabrication, the art of translating ambitious conceptual visions into structures that can actually be built. She worked on Galaxia, the 2018 Burning Man Temple, and the 2024 effigy Protea, and the 2025 permanent installation Beit al Noor, which you'll have to correct me on the pronunciation of. She holds a PhD in architectural technologies with research focused specifically on creating doubly curved forms from flat sheets of material, expertise that sits at the very heart of this year's temple design. But beyond the technical artistry, Annie will tell you what drives her is the temple's singular ability to gather people from around the world into a collective shared experience. She carries a belief that grief is love with no place to go, and considers it a profound honor to help build a space capable of holding the weight, the love, and the stories of an entire community. Please welcome Annie Locke. Where's Annie? There. Wait. Where's Annie?
In front of you. I'm in front of you.
So Annie, come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Perfect. Yay. But there we go. You can got it. Come on over. Perfect. We made it. I'll move. It'll be easier for me. So thank you, Annie and James. So James, you're joining us from Oakland, from where the temple is being built right now.
He's still
You're
holding
muted.
a drill. Come on.
There it goes.
I know.
Yeah, I'm standing in our 10,000 square foot warehouse space. We actually just broke for lunch. So as I'm sitting here talking to all of you, I'm looking out over, we have about 54 volunteers here today, and we're all sitting down and eating lunch. A bunch went off to get tacos. And so things have paused here while we eat. Yeah, it's a really, really good energy.
Well, I hope you get some time to get some calories in. And Annie, where are you joining us from?
I'm in Stockholm right now, so it's a little bit later over yonder.
Yeah, by about 9 hours from the playa. So thank you for joining us from Stockholm and from Oakland. James, you came to this project through a deeply personal experience of grief and witnessing. Can you take us back to that moment when you knew you wanted to build the temple this year? What was that calling felt like?
Yeah, I mean, I have one of my dearest friends in the world is a woman who had met the love of her life, and within a few weeks of meeting him, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she was basically, supporting him throughout all of his treatment and his illness. And during that whole time, I was supporting her as her dear friend. And then in October, with a few weeks until temple proposals were due, he passed. And I was basically just holding space with her and witnessing her grief as she was really going through it. And I'm someone who's, I'm a doer, I'm a maker, I'm very active. I'm not someone who's used to just sitting and being present. And yet that's what I realized. The only way to best support her is just to be there and to just hold that space. And at some point during this process, it came to me that, because she's a fellow burner, in fact, she and I had been to Burning Man together in 2023, it occurred to me that I couldn't fix her grief, but I could build a temple where she'll be grieving him this year. And so that gave me something I could focus my kind of energy on, which is, proposing a temple. And so I basically, came to the team. We had actually planned on taking a year off. We built this Moonlight Library last year, which is a huge piece. And we were going to take this year off and not build any art. And so I have a whole team here in the Bay Area called the Moonlight Collective. And we were going to take a year off. And actually, I kind of came to them and said, hey, guys, you don't know this yet, but we're going to build a temple this year. And I have a concept designer named Perry, who is a Disney Imagineer, and she's based in Orlando. And I kind of basically said, hey, can you help me put together a concept for the temple? And she said, well, I'll give you Saturday. I'm like, I'll take it. So in one day, she basically put together a quick sketch of some concepts based on this Queen of the Night flower that I'd given her. And she nailed it first go. I mean, I was really, the initial concept was just perfect. And so we put that together with a proposal and, and then submitted it, and then had an interview with the committee, and a few weeks later found out we're building the temple this year. And it was really, really, I remember just Katie Hazard gave me a call, and I remember just sobbing on the phone because it was just such an emotional thing. And this has been a really, I was on a transition moment in my own life between, kind of being a tech CEO and wanting to be a full-time artist. And so with getting this temple, it was a really clear message that it was time to finally make that whole shift. So I quit my job. I'm a full-time artist now. This is my job this year, is building the temple, and I couldn't be more aligned and happier.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then you said you gave her the flower, the Queen of the Night. What is it about that flower that inspired you to make the temple based on it?
Yeah, so two things. So first of all, I should say that, the collective that I created to create our last two art pieces was called the Moonlight Collective, because I really do believe there's something very magical and very transformative about moonlight, and creating art to be experienced in the dark and at night really is something that's very special. And so I knew it was, if I was going to do a temple, I knew it would be a temple of the moon. And when I was thinking about what that temple would be, I realized that, there's this flower, the Queen of the Night. And I've known about this flower. And something about a flower that blooms for once a year for one night only, that it's gone by morning, really spoke to me for a couple of reasons. One is that it is a perfect metaphor for Burning Man itself, which is a desert flower that blooms for once a year and is gone by morning. Also, life itself is very fragile and ephemeral, and it's a reminder of how fragile and ephemeral life is. But also, again, my experience and my learnings from holding space with my friend was the power of presence and the power of being, just witnessing. And when you have a flower that's only blooming for a few hours, you have no choice but to witness it. I mean, you can't, if you blink, you're going to miss it. And so it demands a form of presence. And that's exactly what I really wanted to create with this temple. When I was talking to different temple builders, I talked to a woman named Ella who built the Temple of the Heart. And one of the things she was sharing with me is she was saying, listen, when you're thinking about a temple, think a lot about what kind of emotion it is that you want to be sharing. What are you trying to capture in your temple? And I remember realizing the thing I want to capture more than anything else is presence. And so everything about this temple is designed to really create a sense of presence. We'll talk about it in a second when we give you guys a tour through the temple. But it's not a linear approach. When you come to the gate and you look at the temple, you can't just go straight into the temple. You have to wind your way in and around these outer petals and then in and around. Space you're walking through to really create that sense of again, just slowing down, present, and really witnessing where you are, and it creates a from the space of the temple.
That's really beautiful. And I looked up the Queen of the Night flower, and I recommend everybody do the same. It is a fascinating and really beautiful flower. So Annie, you worked on temples and large-scale builds across multiple burns, including Galaxia in 2018. How does approaching the temple...
Sorry, I was just saying, apparently has an incredible sense. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No.
So this next question is for Annie. How does approaching the temple as an architect differ from other large-scale projects, and what does this particular structure ask of you that others haven't?
I think the thing that is about temple is that it's very much the second that you're done with it. I'll never forget when we did Galaxia, and we opened very late. I think it was like Wednesday early morning or afternoon, and within 5 minutes of presenting it to the entire community, it was clearly no longer ours. It was already filled with all kinds of emotions and spaces and really wonderful, poignant feelings from others. And I think being able to just instantaneously hand over something that an hour ago you were on a scissor lift building that was much more construction, much less about feelings or any kind of emotions like that, to then once that is then given to the community and to see what they fill it with, that's the important part of temple, is what people bring to it, as opposed to just what you are bringing. So it's a bit of a symbiotic thing. You can't just do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Just
True. Very,
remind
very
people
fair.
to turn off, to mute themselves, because someone has
Oh,
a
yes,
speaker
thank
on.
you. If you could please mute yourself. Thank you, Alana Beth, for that reminder. If everybody can mute themselves, thank you. And it is really amazing to see all that people bring to the temple and what they leave, and how close it is to someone's heart, what they're going through. The lunar cycles woven into the design of the temple. Can you walk us through how that rhythm actually shows up in the physical architecture, and what will people see and feel when they go inside it?
Sure. So two things I'll say. The first step is this outer fence. The moon shows up most dramatically in this outer fence. And so in that outer fence, there's two things you're going to notice. The first is if you go into flying mode and fly up into the sky and look down at it, the actual fence is not a perfect circle. It's actually an oval shape, because the moon itself is not orbiting the Earth in a perfect circle. It's actually orbiting in an ellipse. And so we've designed the fence to be slightly elliptical. The temple is not perfectly centered within the fence. It's slightly off-centered in the same way that the Earth is not perfectly centered in the moon's orbit, which means if you go to the full moon side of, and we've organized this so that the full moon side of the fence is closest to the temple, as if it was a supermoon. The other thing you'll notice is that there's 8 gates set into the fence. Each gate is a circle, and it's meant to be a symbol of the moon, like a Chinese moon gate. And so there's going to be 8 gates. Each gate represents a different phase of the moon. There's 72 fence posts in the fence, and each fence post has on top of it. Actually, someone needs to mute, I'm afraid. Each of the fence posts has on top of it a moon, which is showing a different phase of the moon. So we go from a new moon all the way through to a full moon and back to new moon again. And here they're showing up as wooden, but in the actual temple, they're going to be actually moonlights. There's going to be a piece of etched plexiglass, etched with the moon surface, side lit with LEDs, and then masked to represent a different phase of the moon. So there'll be these beautifully glowing moons all the way around the entire fence. It should be really, really beautiful.
Mike, please.
And make sure that you're muted. We're getting some feedback from someone.
So yeah, so that's mostly where the moon shows up, is in the fence.
It's in the fence. If you want to fly, if you don't know how to fly, if you're on a headset, you hit the A button, and then you look up and you move forward, and you'll go up into the sky. If you're on your computer, you'll see a little wing in the upper right, and you can click on that wing. It will turn it on, and then you look up and you move forward, and that will take you up into the sky. So you can get a view of the elliptical, which you'll pretty much only get to see here. You won't get to see on Playa because gravity.
Beautiful. It looks like you're flying a drone. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I suggest
and I
flying.
love that the cycle of the moon goes all the way around the fence. I've been in here so many times and I hadn't noticed that. So thank you for that. And if you look up, James, which you're muted still, if you look up, you'll see everyone's flying.
Yeah,
above
it's
your
crazy.
temple.
I love watching everyone flying up there. That's amazing. What a shot. It's amazing. I'll go up there too. I'm gonna fly up there too and join them. Ellipse. In fact, we can give the tour from up here. Everyone, if I don't know if people can hear me from this high up, but people should come up here. We can give the next stage the tour from up here.
So for those that are down below, if you can get the message that we're going to do the rest of the tour from up here.
Well, we'll start the tour from up here. Yeah.
We'll start the tour from up here. So hold on. So we're going to continue.
So it reminds me of the scene in The Matrix where Neo's flying off at the end of the first movie.
Here we go. Perfect. Okay.
Wow. This looks like a drone shot. Whoa.
Yeah. I know. It's very cool. Very,
I can't wait to
very
compare.
Cool. Do we still have,
Right?
do
Yeah,
we have
this is gonna be on
Annie
yours,
up
yeah.
here?
I know.
luck.
I want to make sure Annie makes it up.
I wish you were with me.
I know. I need more money.
I know.
All right.
It might be hard to get everybody.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should go back down to the entrance. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah. I think
yeah.
so.
All right. All right, everyone back down the entrance.
Everybody's
Heading back down.
enjoying getting high
All right.
in here.
Down to the gate, and then we'll head on in. Come on back. And I'm assuming, Athena, the next step is to take people on a tour through the temple?
Yeah. I mean, I have a few more questions, but it's basically
Okay.
to give them a lowdown.
Okay, so when people have gathered, we can start your questions and head on in.
All the birds.
Oh,
coming
that's
down.
fun, Trollbot. And do we have Annie back? Where'd Annie go?
I think she's right there.
Yeah,
she's here.
there
Hey,
she is.
Annie, she's here.
She's in back.
Oh, there
seat.
she is, standing on the fence. Perfect. And Annie, you're muted.
And just
No
press
timing.
the A button again to drop down.
Yeah, just press the A button if you want to drop down, or press the wing again and it'll take you right down. So real quick, Annie, Your PhD focuses on creating doubly curved forms from flat sheets of material, which is central to this year's design. Can you explain explain a way that we can all visualize how that works and why it matters to the Temple of the Moon?
Well, there's a famous quote by Gary that says, flat things cost $1, single curved things cost $2, and double curved things cost $10. And so the point is, how do you make something that might be maybe a little bit more unique than your typical IKEA copy paste thing, but how do you do it in an efficient way where suddenly it's not 10 times the expense? So I took a really nice class when I was in college that was called The World is Flat. It was all about how do you make things from flat sheet material, because that's how the world comes. So then that was very formative in my years, and I really loved the idea of how can you have that brain teaser to develop things, and I've loved it ever since. So.
And I can see like there's a lot of curves and then a lot of straight, so it's very interesting to see how you're implementing it here.
Yeah, exactly. And there's very few actually curved things in this temple just because of practicalities, and so it's all a trick of the eye, so to speak.
So James, do you want to walk us through, and you told us about the perimeter fence and the gateway and the moon cycle all the way around. Do you want to walk us through the temple?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through 4 or 5 different kind of stages. So we're going to start with the gate, and so we're all going to go through the moon gate, and then we're going to walk over here to these outer petals. We'll stop here for a second. So these outer petals have a couple different purposes. One purpose is they're designed to kind of slow you down and give you this non-linear path into the temple, both because I want you to slow down and be more present, and also because grief itself is non-linear, and so it makes sense that the path in should be not linear. They also conveniently give us a lot more surface area for offerings. One of the things that Temple Guardians set forth is, at least 15 or 20,000 square feet of surface area for people to put offerings, and so these petals give us a lot of additional kind of surface area, which is important. And then these outer ones have benches, so you can sit down and sort of sit on these benches and sort of take in and see the temple. You can lean back against that side. And then the inner petals have no benches. The outer petals actually lean backwards, which is an interesting structural challenge. Then these inner petals are straight up and down, or a slight tilt. And again, everything is curved, but it's all straight pieces of wood. So it's a exercise in curving with wood. And one of the things that Annie did is, she mentioned parametric design. One of the things that's really magical about the process of working with Annie is that we were able to, give her concepts and sketches and designs, and then she essentially created code that generates all the architecture from code. So every single one of these pieces of wood would have been impossible to place by hand. And so Annie wrote the code that basically took those curves and generated all the structure. So that gave me as the artist flexibility to say, what if the fence was 120 feet across versus 150 feet across? What if the, height was 18 feet versus 16 feet? And tweak and play with the parameters and regenerate essentially the architecture to see what's the right fit. And I believe this is the way architecture really should be built in the future. It's such an evolution from placing things by hand. Okay, but then once you're past those petals, the next stage is these curving, we call them the petal arms, these curving arms. And I just walked underneath this archway in between 2 of these curving arms. And you're now kind of drawn in through this opening and then into the center of the tower. And so we're calling this the center tower that I'm now standing inside. I jokingly, it kind of looks like a nuclear cooling tower. It's a giant hourglass shape. But it's really the center of the whole structure. And this is the place where, we'll have benches in here that are kind of spiral benches. It's a curving place for people to sit and be together. Coming up the middle is what we call the center spire. It's this tower that ultimately holds up the stamens. The stamens are the tallest part of the whole temple, are these 50-foot tall stamens with glowing lights at the ends of them. And then if you look out, we have these 10 entrances coming off of the center tower. 5 of them lead directly outside. 5 of them lead into these curving petal arms. And so I invite you to kind of go down one of these curving arms like I'm doing now. Again, this is providing more surface area for offerings, but it also provides a little bit of a more solitary space for reflection. You're still connected to the rest of the temple, but it gives you a space to be a little bit alone. And because it curves, if you walk far enough down it, you can kind of get out of sight of the center space and have a little bit of space to yourself. And so I think these 5 curving arms are going to be an area for people to have some solitary space, as well as having the communal space in the center of the temple. And then one thing that was alluded to earlier as we were stepping outside, if you come back into the center with me and look up, the very, very top here, at the moment it's open to the sky. The stretch goal, my plane name is stretch goal because I'm a big fan of setting stretch goals. Our stretch goals actually have a ceiling here that's going to open at sunset and close at sunrise. And so the current plan is to have these giant canvas sails that have pulleys that can essentially close and open these canvas sails stretched along cables, so that during the day the roof will be closed, and then like the flower blooming at night, the roof will open at sunset in a ritual the temple guardians will have a chance to create and greet the sunset every day. So that's something we're actively working on now, starting to think about how we're going to, fabricating that and deciding what materials and so forth.
Oh, I love that you're turning it into a temple guardian ritual.
Yeah, one of the beautiful things is, looking at the center tower, it's such a curved structure, and yet every single one of these pieces of wood, if you sight along it, is straight. These pieces of wood do not need to bend. They rotate slightly, or twist slightly, but they don't bend. They're straight pieces of wood. And the only parts in this whole structure that are actually curved are the ribs. These vertical ribs of this tower are going to be CNC cut from plywood to create curved ribs, and then glue laminated together to create these kind of curving ribs. Everything else is straight piece of wood.
What about the center, the center of the flower?
That too. Sorry. Yes. And these center ribs are also CNC cut. So basically, the vertical ribs in the center spire and the vertical ribs in the tower are going to be cut into curved shapes and then laminated together.
Okay.
But the stamens are not going to be wood. The stamens are going to be metal.
Right, exactly. And so if you guys want to fly up, if you choose to fly up to the top, you'll see these curving stamens. Those are metal. That's actually the only part that's not wood in the entire structure. Are those these curving flower stamens here?
So they're metal. Are they going to be removed before the burn, or?
No, they're designed to. They're going to be designed to come apart in the fire. So we're going to be connecting them together with aluminum connectors that should melt in the fire, and they should come down to the ground in relatively short, relatively harmless lengths of pipe. So in the wreckage, in the ashes of the temple, there will be these sections of tubing that should be lying flat on the ground, quite safe. It was important to me when one of the things when you're a temple artist, the fire team comes to you early on and basically says, how do you want it to burn? What do you want it to look like while it's burning? And I have a very, very strong image of the fire silhouetting these stamens as the last thing standing as the fire comes up through the center tower. And so I wanted to make sure these are still here at the end.
And we were actually doing the detailing on them today.
You're actually doing the detailing today?
I think the interest.
I was doing the detailing on them today, yes.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Nice.
And actually, another note is the petals, the thing we're standing on up the top here, we call them the crown petals. These are the petals around the crown of this structure. And they're shown here as plywood. That was an earlier design. The actual final design is going to have them clad in cladding the way the rest of the structure is clad. So they're actually going to be in a kind of V shape, as you would find in the veins of a leaf, for example. And so it'll have a consistent cladding treatment the way the rest of the tower is clad.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
With it blooming for one day, I almost see it as when it burns, that is when it will be blooming.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's like almost like its final bloom, and then it goes and then it withers, exactly, and it withers down into ash. I think that's a really beautiful metaphor. The final bloom will be the fire.
What have been some of your biggest challenges because you've built a lot of other large scale art on Playa? Well, what are some of your biggest challenges on this one?
Well, the first biggest challenge was just figuring out how we were going to create all these curved organic surfaces So meeting Annie was the first challenge. I mean, not challenge, but you know, when we got selected, you know, I didn't yet have an architect attached to the project, and so I actually reached out to a number of university professors of architecture who were experts in parametric architecture, asking them if they had references or advice to give. And one of the professors we talked to, David Carrera, who's based out of McGill University, said, I can't help you, I'm too busy, but you should meet Annie Locke. And so David actually put me in touch with Annie. I reached out to Annie, and it was like, I want to say it was love at first sight. I mean, her work was amazing. Her energy was amazing. One of the people on my team saw her Instagram feed and was like, James, we have to get Annie. This is exactly the right person for our project. And so I guess we said the right things, and she agreed to join us.
It's been a pleasure.
And Annie, you have a lot of projects going on this year on Playa. I mean, the temple is like big enough. It's like to just do the temple, that is enough. But you also have, what else do you have coming to Playa?
Yeah, Annie keeps us up busy.
Yeah, we're doing Long Feng has a sister car that's going to be a Fire Phoenix that is going to be the old Icarus art car that is old marine cargo loader that goes up and down like maybe 15 feet and is going to have aerial acrobats on it, and it's going to be mainly a performance. And there might be a performance from Hans Zimmer on there.
Wow, that would be epic.
We'll
That'd
see,
be amazing.
If that camp or if it's there.
And then you also are building stuff for Borderland this year, which is in July.
That is
in
true.
Sweden.
Yes, I have 1.2 kilometers, so like half a mile long of LED. Basically a hippie truck.
So, we all love a hippie truck.
Lots of blinky, lots of fabulous.
And then you asked about challenges. I said that the other big challenge now is ply build. So if you look down, this is a really complicated structure, and we have about 3.5 weeks to build it all, assemble it all on Playa. And you know, we're building as much of it as we can here in the shop. But if you look at the structure, none of this can be transported as is. So everything you're seeing here basically has to get bolted together and assembled on Playa. And the center tower is going to be a 35,000 pound object that has to get assembled into the ring. We're calling them Pringles. We're building these like vertical strips, these curved vertical strips that are gonna be like Pringles. We're gonna be shipping those out in pieces. They get bolted together into a circle, and then the entire circle gets craned up and lifted and hoisted and put onto the legs you see at the bottom there. And only once the tower is in place can we start to assemble those curving pedal arms that curve off of it. So there's this sort of order of operations that has a lot of us nervous about just how much we have to get done on Playa. So we first assemble the center tower, then we get to assemble those curving pedal arms out of pieces. And only once the pedal arms are in place can we then move the outer pedals into positions, because we need to have access for heavy equipment and so on. Those pedals would block it. So the pedals will be assembled off in the side. And then one of the final pieces we do is move the pedals in, and then the fence gets erected. And so there's a lot of pieces that really have to be kind of serialized. And so that's the thing that keeps us up at now, is just working through, we're literally working through kind of a day by day, hour by hour sequence for build on Playa. And obviously we have to factor in bad weather and you know, budget for unforeseen issues. So that's the thing that's keeping up with now. The actual build now is going actually very smoothly. And if you guys, I encourage everyone, check out our Instagram feed. It's called 2026 Temple. And we're posting so many photos and updates on there. It's a really fun way to keep abreast of the project.
Yeah, and we finished the entire fence. We finished all the one ring of the pedals. We are making such amazing progress. There's 80 to 100 plus volunteers who come over the weekend. It's really incredible.
That's incredible. So now the pedals, the further ones are kind of far from the temple. When you go to burn it, are you going to move them closer?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already thinking about, again, part of the build plan. You know, it's only May, and we're already thinking about, you know, burn day. And you're exactly right. You know, starting at 6 a.m. on Sunday, you know, everyone else is sleeping off whatever partying they did after the man burn, but our temple crew will be up at 6 a.m. Clearing out electrical cabling, stripping certain things out of the temple. And then, yeah, all of those outer pedals will be hoisted up and moved in toward the center. as well as the entire fence gets picked up or taken apart and moved into the center as well. We have these burn boxes. All the scrap wood that gets generated during the burn goes into these burn boxes that also get brought out to the playa and moved into the center as kindling. So nothing is wasted, and moved in there for that final burn.
And Peter mentioned in the last panel that a lot of the wood is reclaimed.
Yes, we have ordered. Yeah, so it was important to us to try to be as sustainable as we could. And so rather than build the entire thing out of new wood, which not only is it not great to cut down trees just to build something's going to burn, but also new wood is typically green, which means it tends to warp and twist when it gets out to the playa and dries out. We are using reclaimed lumber from a building in Wisconsin that's being torn down. And so we've ordered 80,000 feet of 1x4 that's being milled for us out of old 2x4s that are in this building. And the nice thing about this wood is not only is it, it's already out in the world. We're not, cutting new trees down for this project, but the wood's already pre-dried. And so we're getting wood that's already, usually you pay a premium for that. And so we're getting wood that is already pre-dried. And because it's being, we're taking these old wood and they're milling, they're basically cutting it down to our dimensions, which means we're getting basically fresh, brand new wood, and it looks gorgeous, and it's dry, and it's not, it's a win-win all around, and it costs the same as buying brand new wood, so we're not even paying a premium for this.
Oh, that's great. The building in Wisconsin, do you know anything about it? Because
I don't. I should learn the story. I know.
I was about to say, you're bringing that energy of that wood and whatever happened in that building to the playa, and it's almost like a second life for that building.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about energy. It's funny you mentioned it. I'm not the world's most woo-woo person, but I have become quite woo-woo on this project. I will say I have a lot of thoughts about the energy that goes into building. One of the things that was really affected me is as part of the interview for becoming the temple builder this year, David Best is one of the people on the committee who picks the next temple builder. And I was mentioning on the call that I've been studying sacred spaces and reading books on sacred spaces because I really wanted to understand what it is that makes a space sacred. And he then called me back a couple days later and he basically said, "Hey, listen, I want to talk to you. Something you said in the call wasn't right." I'm like, "Uh-oh, okay, what was that, David?" And he said, what makes the temple sacred is not the design. He's like, nothing you find in a book is going to make your temple sacred. What makes the temple sacred is the love and the intention that the team brings to the build process and the investment that they bring. And so he basically said, it's the love. You can be building a cardboard box, but if you're bringing the right level of love and intention into the build process, it will be sacred. And I've been thinking a lot about that. And so I typically kick off all of our build sessions here at the temple by reminding everyone that what makes this temple so special is not the wood, the plans, the designs. It's a beautiful design, but that's not what makes it sacred. It's the energy and the love that this build crew brings to the process. And I've come to think about it. People always ask me, what does it feel like to burn something you're spending so much time and effort into? And I've kind of really come around to feel very differently about it, which is, the tens and thousands or even hundreds of thousands of hours of build effort that we're putting into the structure. I think this is almost like the rocket fuel that helps this whole structure achieve sort of escape velocity when it burns. And that's actually the energy we give it that allows us to transport all those offerings and all those, everything that people are bringing to the temple that they're hoping to release. It's the love and the effort we're putting into it now as part of the pre-build that gives it the power to ultimately release. If we just bought it at, say, Costco and burned it, I don't think it would have the same power that the structure has.
Well, and I'd also like to add to that. I remember some people had asked me when we did Galaxia. They said, the same thing. How does it feel to work so hard on something and then just, it's in ash in 5 days? And one of the things I remember talking about a lot was that the purpose of it is to burn, because the purpose is to help someone else through grief. The purpose is not to build an amazing piece of architecture. So if we build all of this and all of our hours that the temple crew has put into pouring their love in to help, even if it's one person, get through some kind of grief, whether they're putting an old wedding dress because they're going through divorce or they've lost someone or a pet or whatever they're going through. But if we can help anyone go through that and not feel alone. Like that's the point of it. It's not to build something amazing.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of time. I want to be able to let other people ask questions. Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask? Unmute and go ahead and ask your question. Structural, physical, spiritual.
Or any of it. I guess you said a lot
Do
of
you
it's
have to
mobile.
put in ground anchors or go deep into the playa for the central core?
Yes. The whole plan for, well, no, you want to answer? I can answer. There's a whole plan for how we do structural anchors. There's two kinds of anchors. One kind of anchor is basically providing pulling down to prevent the whole thing from flying away. So that's called there's like uplift or upforce. Because you think about the wind hitting this thing, we're designing for 70 mile per hour winds, and there's a certain force that wants to pull it up and away from the ground. So we have certain anchors that are pulling down. And then we also have other anchors that are preventing it from going side to side. So if you think about, again, all this wind pushing against this, it wants to slide along the playa. And so we have other anchors designed for what's called shear force to prevent it from sliding. And, these are typically 3 to 4 feet long, massive anchors that get screwed into the playa that we then attach to. And then we have a whole complicated series of anchors and trusses and mechanisms that transfer all the loads and all the weights from the structure down into the ground.
Sounds complicated. So earlier in the last panel, you mentioned that there are ways that people can participate and help. Obviously, there's a build going on right now. So if you're in the Bay Area, you can show up and actually like hammer and nail and get involved. But what are other ways that people can get involved that aren't in the Bay?
So we have two right now. One of them is happening right now as we speak. If you look at those moon gates, those giant 8 moon gates that are set around the perimeter of the fence, if you go to them now in this VR simulation, the inside of those right now are solid wood, but we're actually going to be CNC cutting patterns into the inner surfaces of those moon gates. So when you walk through the moon gate, there'll be a pattern cut out and backlit. And we've actually opened a call for submissions to the community to design the patterns that we cut into those moon gates. And so if you go to our Instagram feed or if you go to our website, which is just 2026temple.com, you will see the call for submissions. So any of you budding artists out there who feel called to design a pattern to be cut into the moon gates, there's a process and you can submit your designs and we're picking the 8 that we think are best represented to go into the moon gates. So that's open to the public. And then we will also be opening up a call for cushions. We're going to hopefully have 300 cushions made by the community that will go into the temple, both for seating in and around the pedal arms, the center, and so forth. So those are 2 ways you can participate, even if you can't come to Oakland to build.
And there's this third way you can donate. You can.
Of course, thank you. We have a crowdfunder. Yes. We have a crowdfunder.
Crowdfunding. Yeah.
Yeah, the temple is not cheap and it is not paid for. There's a grant from Burning Man, but it's mostly paid for by the community. So, there's room for all donations of all sizes, and we do have a crowdfunder open right now. So we'd love to encourage people to go check that out. You can link to it from our website, 2026temple.com.
I have a question.
Any other questions? Yes. Go ahead, Squirrel.
Hi. Hey, James. It's Josette. So I know with Moonlight Library, you guys had all these like fun events. Like I think there was like a ballet event. I mean, of course, despite the weather and everything, but like, do you guys have any special events that you might be planning specifically for Temple of the Moon?
No, I think my understanding, and if there's any temple guardians here, if Maven's here, she can kind of jump in. My understanding is that, we don't typically program events at the temple beyond the Philharmonic, which is sort of a staple. So no, we're not explicitly planning anything beyond the annual kind of Philharmonic performance.
Cool.
I think the choir normally does a Sunday dawn thing as well, or they have on a few other temples. James, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing. The other thing I was going to say is there is a blessing ceremony that happens every year where the Paiute tribe, an elder from the Paiute tribe named Dean, comes to the temple to bless the temple and bless the builders who built it. And so that will be happening again this year. It typically happens before it opens to the public.
Oh, and there's an audio that we're hearing as we're in the temple. I had turned my ambient down, but I just turned it up and realized that there's this beautiful tone. Is that tone going to also be playing at for the one that's on Playa?
No, we thought about audio and decided they did that last year, and apparently it was it was a lot of work and didn't really add value. So we're not going to have any audio designed for the temple.
Okay.
Actually, I think
Great.
this audio is from Temple of the Deep. This is a file. Yeah, Miguel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there were a few audios that were tough, and this one was the best. So this is actually the real audio from Temple of the Deep that we're listening to.
Okay.
It is VR.
Distant, thumping art car noise in the distance. Right over by the trash fence right over there. Just like a coo, yeah.
It'll happen. Yeah.
Lamb Chop, you had a question?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Aw, shucks.
Oh, we lost Lamb Chop.
What
That
the
was a
question?
burning question. Oh my gosh.
We'll never know.
Anybody else have a question? So I have a question. So Annie and James, Annie, you've seen a piece that you've built and been part of burn, and that feeling of release even for yourself, because it's different. Like everybody brings something to the piece, but you brought the piece, the sculpture, the structure. So when this burns, that feeling of release, what is that? Is it like a letting go, a completion? What is that feeling for you?
Well, I would say it's two parts. The first is what I was talking about a little bit earlier of this is the purpose of this. So we have achieved our goal. If we are helping anyone go through any kind of grief, that's the idea. And then the Aspio part of me is, oh, I don't have to take it down, thank God.
I had a thought, which was I was hanging out with some friends, I don't know, at some point while we were still in the design phase. And I just had this realization of like, the temple does take over your life. I mean, it has really taken over my life. This is my every waking moment. And it will be between now and the burn. And I remember realizing like, it has to burn to set me free from, or to set us free from this process. I mean, it's sort of like the temple does have to be released, you know, it wants to be released. You know, it's important that we do it, but we'll also be able to move on because it is such an all-consuming process.
And I see Lamb Chops come back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Then have it be gone. But that was the purpose of it, is what she's
that's
saying.
the point. We
That's the
fulfilled
point.
purpose. I don't know, I don't get that.
Lamb Chop, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, the petals look solid here, but are the petals on Playa going to be made of fabric, or are they just going to be solid plywood or something?
No, they're going to be clad. So I maybe missed it earlier. They look plywood here, but they're going to be clad in the same material that the rest of the material is clad out of, 1x4, set with spacing.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I have a question. I was
Yes.
wondering what kind of fasteners the cladding will be attached with.
It's a mixture of nails and screws. So for the most part, we're nailing it in with pneumatic shaped nailers. But there's certain areas where we have to be able to remove it to get into the inner structures for attaching things together. And so those pieces are screwed on.
Do we have any other questions? If not, we'll let James get back to building, and Annie probably to bed.
I just love listening to the noises in the background from James.
Yeah,
I'm muting.
Word.
Lunch is over here. Lunch is over here, and we're back in building. So keep it muted
I
when I'm
know.
not talking.
I love hearing
Get
it.
back to work.
Get back to work.
Thank you so much for doing such a beautiful project. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming today.
You're doing a great service to the entire community. And this is the only way that anyone is going to be able to enjoy this temple from this view is in Burner Sphere.
Just beautiful.
Exactly.
Love it.
If we catch you trying to enjoy this view on Playa, you'll be summarily removed. So enjoy it here.
Yes. Or you have some sort of magic that we're all going to try to figure out.
Exactly. All right, I'm gonna sign off.
Okay.
Thank you again
Thank you so
for all
much,
your work.
James. Thank you, Annie, so much.
Thank you.
I would like to say a huge thank you to our campmates, all of you whose camp dues make gatherings like this possible and keep this this platform open and accessible to everyone. If you've been enjoying this experience and want to help sustain it, we invite you to join the community as a campmate and contribute to camp dues. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, James. I cannot wait to see this on Playa.
That's right. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, James.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you,
Athena?
Annie.
We need to go light
Yeah.
Thank you,
Helios
Annie.
back up again.
I have a question for you guys. How are you
We got
guys going to
enough
cover
people now.
this as far as when you shoot it for Burner Sphere?
Doug's been shooting this. Doug's. Oh, you
No,
mean like physically
the
on
actual-
Playa?
Yeah.
We have not discussed that yet. No.
Okay, well, maybe this has been a great exposure to it, so you understand the dynamics of it, and will make some beautiful work out of that too, to keep the memory alive.
Yes. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
And hopefully you get
For
some drone
sure.
footage.
Yes. Well, we have to figure out first how we're getting to Playa, and then how we're going to shoot everything. Normally, a few weeks before the event, the team that's going comes into Burner
you
Sphere and we
DJ
walk
Celeste?
around all the pieces that that we're planning on capturing and figuring out how to do that capture.
Sweet. Jason.
Hey, Swirly. It's going to be a thing. Yeah.
And thank you, Doug and Athena, also, and all of you for bringing this to us, both in 3D and VR, and also on desktop.
Thank you. And now
Thank you, Athena.
thank you,
Doug.
Doug, for getting it on the Mac Store.
Thank you guys.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Go Burner
So now
Sphere.
all the temples are open, so you can explore all of them from the temple selector. And
doing it.
and like Doug said in the last one, if
Hey,
you
what's
look
up?
down the road, you can see the man base that goes with each year, and that is this year's the man base. Can't walk out to the man bases yet,
This one? No, we don't have this one. I think they're still working
but
on
that
the,
looks like the
on the
tree.
bubble.
No?
Oh, there's something behind it that
Oh,
makes it
okay.
look like the tree.
Oh, there's something behind. That's so funny. From where I was standing, I'm like, no, you got the tree. It's in there. Which is
Right.
where I was standing.
It's tree shaped.
exactly what you
Why
mean.
not tree?
That is really funny. It's just from here. It looks right from just where I am.
Yeah. Nice.
Here from where I am, I see a man